Check out great deals throughout the store at Safeway. This week at Safeway, get mega packs of USDA Choice boneless beef chuck roast for $3.97 per pound with digital coupon, limit 2 packages. Plus, Hass avocados are 10 for $10 member price. And get Fuji apples for just 77 cents per pound with digital coupon. Also this week at Safeway, get selected varieties of Lucerne milk gallons for the member price of $3.99 each when you buy 2. Visit Safeway.com or head into your local store for more deals. Check out great deals throughout the store at Safeway. This week at Safeway, get mega packs of USDA Choice boneless beef chuck roast for $3.97 per pound with digital coupon, limit 2 packages. Plus, Hass avocados are 10 for $10 member price. And get Fuji apples for just 77 cents per pound with digital coupon. Also this week at Safeway, get selected varieties of Lucerne milk gallons for the member price of $3.99 each when you buy 2. Visit Safeway.com or head into your local store for more deals.
The Pop Culture Field Manual.
Hey, what's going on, Pop Culture Field Manual podcast listeners? Welcome to another fabulous episode of the PCFM podcast, sitting right at the intersection of weapons, action, the military, and pop culture. Izzy, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm having a good day. I'm really excited for this episode today, folks. Also, I just wanted to keep you guys up to date on the latest and greatest. We got some new merchandise that Cameron was nice enough to format and create for us. It's out. You can find that on our Instagram links and all around. And also, if you want to join us on Patreon, folks, we got a lot of great content there. Extra episodes, live streams every month, discounts on merch. So it's a good time, folks. Check us out on PCFM podcast out on Patreon. So,
all right. Yep. You would be most inclined to do so. We have a really good time, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yep.
Okay. But today I'm pretty excited because, we've kind of touched on this a little bit in our Halloween episode, but to my surprise, the amount of movies that cover this specific type of individual, it should have been its own episode,
right?
Regardless, but Bloodsuckers, Nightwalkers, freaks amongst society, Satan's disciples, they go by many names, but the name you may know them best by is the IRS. Just kidding, it's the ATF. All facts aside, though, this episode is actually about one of pop culture's most iconic monsters. Yes, the vampire. But we must give credit where credit is due. So thank you to Dean Martin from our Patreon for giving us this idea for this episode. Honestly, we're idiots for not thinking of it ourselves, but that's why our fans are so amazing.
They're the best.
So,
now, wasn't Dean Martin one of the was he one of the Rat Pack?
I have no idea.
Dean Martin.
I'm not that old.
And I'm not that old either, but I just thought you guys let us know. Dean Martin, the Las Vegas, the lounge singer guys that, oh my gosh, now I'm going to embarrass myself. There's the Frank Sinatra. I thought Dean Martin.
I know the era.
Yeah.
I just don't know the 4 guys in the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
The only thing I know about the Rat Pack is from Get 'Em Back to the Greek.
Oh.
They mention the Rat Pack.
They mention the Rat Pack.
And I see billboard signs every time I go to Vegas.
Oh,
but
okay.
if you are in fact the real Dean Martin, we have celebrities amongst our ranks, so that's cool.
Yeah. You're still alive.
Yeah. But I think it was I think it's before we get into this episode, it's worth talking kind of a little bit about the history of vampires, just because not only are we entertaining, but we are also educational here on the PCFM podcast.
Yeah.
But since my fiance's in medical school, she was super, super excited when I mentioned that we're doing this episode, because in fact, vampires aren't just based off Bram Stoker's novel. Everybody knows Dracula, right?
Yeah, that was kind of what brought it
actually
into, that's like the standard version of a vampire that we all kind of are familiar with, like the standard tropes and their powers and weaknesses and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they all came from Dracula, but they actually, and that was released, towards the end of the 1800s. But vampire origins date back all the way to 1819. So I wrote a little excerpt of history here that I'm excited to share with y'all. So in 1819, 80 years before the publication of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which many people know today for the modern day perception of vampires, a doctor by the name of John Polidori, he was Italian, of course, published a medical novel called The Vampire. I don't know if it was, actually, I don't think it was medical, but he is a medical physician from Italy who published this novel called The Vampire. So this gives us a rough idea of how far back the idea of vampires came about. However, the legend of vampires was all based on the medical fact. So, a blood-borne disease called porphyria. I hope I'm saying that right. Porphyria. If there's any doctors in the audience, folks, let us know.
Porphyria.
Porphyria. Yeah, so porphyria, and there's actually, different versions of it, but I'm just kind of blanket stating it because I am not a doctor. But porphyria became prevalent amongst nobility in Eastern Europe due to the conditions of generational inheritance. So, it's passed down from generation to generation. Porphyria causes the body to produce less heme, which is a crucial component of hemoglobin, the protein in red blood cells that carry oxygen from lungs to the body tissues. This disorder seems to be the most likely culprit for the vampire myth, and it is actually often referred to as the vampire disease. And some of the symptoms that come along with porphyria are extreme sensitivity to light, causing facial disfigurement, blistering, blackened skin, and hair growth, fangs caused by gum receding. So not actually fangs growing, but actually the gums receding, making it appear as if the victim has fangs. Blood drinking, which was actually a recommended was a recommended treatment by physicians at the time to compensate for their lack of heme in their blood.
Crazy.
So, but the blood that was recommended by physicians that these patients would drink was primarily animal blood. And then aversion to garlic due to the sulfur content, and it would lead to increased attacks, causing pain in porphyria.
That's crazy, man. I didn't,
So, like,
even
it's
the
all
garlic. Yeah.
Yeah, there's even more to it, like, Christian relics, how in, what we see in pop
Cross.
culture today,
Yeah.
how, if you hold a cross to them, they get all freaked out. Well, back in the day, similar to the witch trials of Salem witch trials, vampires, when you look different back then, they typically didn't like
your
you.
your shirt sleeve is slightly torn, maybe your knees are scuffed up. Just get him! Witch!
Yeah, get him. Yeah, witch! So, similar things happen to people with porphyria is that the Christian church would label them as evil because of this disease, and since they're drinking blood and all this thing, they would hunt them down and kill them, similar to witches. So, anything related to the Christian religion, people with porphyria typically avoided because of, the implications, like they might have been murdered by the church.
Yeah.
And then it even goes into, connections to mirrors. Not that they didn't have a reflection, but since the disease and their light sensitivity caused facial disfigurement, these motherfuckers wouldn't keep mirrors in their
who
house.
wants to look
why
at
would
yourself?
you want to look?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Why would you want to look
hideous.
at yourself in the mirror if you're that hideous? So they didn't keep mirrors around. So, like, this disease pretty much is linked to all of the modern day perceptions of the legend of the vampire, which I thought was extremely interesting.
It's crazy. I love going back into the history, Cam, like how you got a little bit of history there, because it's amazing. Like, it makes me wonder years from now, like, what stuff that we take for granted today as, like, normal stuff we know about, so, like people, events, and stuff that, like, 100, 200 years from now is just going to be so twisted and, like, twisted out of shape. They're going to be, like, talking about, I don't know, they're like, like Joe Biden is like, did America once nominate a mummy from ancient Egypt to their presidency? How does that work? It's like, no, you don't get it. He was just an old guy.
Yeah. That's funny. I didn't think about it like that. But yeah, I mean, also before we get in, excuse me, I got burpees.
A little pat on the back. There you go.
Yep, little pat on the back. I need to be burped like a little baby. But what do you think it is about vampires, man, that, that people like? What do you like about them? What do you dislike about them? What do you think is such a such a motivator for filmmakers and video game
because they're everywhere,
that
man.
implement them in everything.
Yeah, books, TV, every form of media has been influenced or had stories like relating to vampires. I don't know, man. I suppose if you want to like try to go deep, there's something about the blood. Obviously, there's something that's because the blood is life, like basically.
Yeah.
It's our lifeblood. It carries. If we lose our blood, we die. It's symbolic of a lot of stuff, especially in Christianity. The blood of Christ, that kind of thing.
Not to the Crips though. They don't.
Not to the Crips. No, they don't like bloods.
They don't like bloods.
So there's got to be the power. Obviously, there's a bit of romance with it in today's. We think of the sparkly vampires from like Twilight. There's like I don't know, like an allure or like a taboo that's like this like forbidden kind of thing. There's like a mystery or a darkness that's kind of alluring to people drinking blood, and taking life and then also giving life, because like being immortal, people are afraid of death. We're all afraid of, fundamentally as human beings, like the drive to survive and stay alive and thrive. I just made that all up. But yes. And I dig some vampire stuff. Obviously, I'm not a fan of like the sparkly vampires. I'm more of a fan of like the bestial, like almost like the Strain or like feral, like I Am Legend. Yeah, 30 Days of Night. Just like brutal, because that
brutal vampires.
Yeah, they don't
like actual monsters.
They're not kindly and they don't give life. They just take people out and they just rip them apart and drink their blood like animals,
Yeah, I think I would have to agree with you on that one. I feel like people are really, even they don't want to admit it, but they are attracted to the things of the world that are considered taboo.
Yeah.
Especially the goth community. They like vampires a lot.
Oh yeah, there's like a whole subculture of like people who fancy themselves to be vampires and they actually drink each other's blood.
Yeah, I've seen the documentaries. But yeah, I think, people have this weird attraction to, things that go bump into the night. That's why, it's like you're living vicariously through these movies. And I think at the end of the day, it's just like people seek understanding of things that they wouldn't typically, pursue themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, watching these movies and I think also with Dracula and the whole romance, and you see it in Disney too with Beauty and the Beast, and there always is this kind of Victorian fantasy with romance in or a love that should never be because of certain circumstances, and you see it in Dracula, and you see it in Twilight, and
boy, do you
and people
see
are obsessed with that shit.
Yeah. It's true. They are.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's good enough to get us going into a couple films that we're going to highlight on this episode. Most importantly, and first and foremost, the greatest vampire movies, and I'm going to say trilogy that was ever made, comes to us from Marvel Comics, which I didn't even know it was Marvel. I thought it was when I first saw this. Yeah, I thought it was just this independent thing because I was like, how the hell does this incorporate into the Marvel world?
Mm-hmm.
But Blade, baby.
Blade, man.
Blade.
Yeah, dude. It's funny because these movies kind of got going before comic book movies really got popular. And so it was one of the first. People talk about the popularity and success of comic book movies. This was one of the earlier ones. This was even before, I think, the first X-Men movie came out. Blade 2 is my favorite. Blade 3 Trinity is my least favorite of the franchise. But Wesley Snipes.
Ryan Reynolds had to sneak into one somehow.
Yeah, that was when he started getting buff. I remember him from National Lampoon's Van Wilder. He's like the skinny dude, like a guy, girl, two guys, a girl, and a pizza place was a show he was in way back when. And he was the skinny, nerdy guy. Yeah, dude, total like.
Really?
And then he's like, I got to
Blade. He's like yoked.
Yeah, so it was
he
a good.
Definitely hired some celebrity, a personal trainer mixed with a little bit of steroids to get it going on.
Yeah, it was a good move for him.
Energy drink mode activated.
Get it?
Okay, just had to.
I had to.
So you weren't.
I had to pump it up, man. I got wrecked yesterday, man. I did 18-mile ruck. I just on the fly.
You did 18 miles?
18 miles. Yeah, I was down around Long Beach area. I packed 50 pounds in. I was like, I want to go further than what I had done before, which was about 7 miles. And where I parked was about 9 miles down to the beach, and on this like these cool trails that go by the LA River. And I brought no snacks. I had some water. I didn't bring a hat.
Oh my God, you're an animal.
Yeah, and I'm wrecked today, man. I'm like wobbling around.
Did you
like
just hump it out the entire time?
Yeah. I took one break, and I'm glad I did it. But man, my feet are wrecked, my hips are wrecked, my knees. I'm all sunburned, and so I'm like just pounding water. Anyway,
you're really training for that baton.
I'm gonna get the baton thing, man. You guys join us on my live stream, twitch.tv/myhappyself. We're gonna record it as well, bring out some content later. But Cameron and I are gonna do a march in honor of the Bataan Death March, which usually takes place. The memorial march takes place in March, appropriate enough. But we're going to do it on the 16th, Thursday, March 16th, at the time of this recording, a couple weeks from now. So you guys can join us there. But anyway, yes, I should have prepared for that.
Yes, you should have. Yeah, and and back on the topic of vampires, this energy drink is just blood. I'm just drinking.
Yeah,
blood,
he's really just bringing in honor of in the spirit of the episode. Yes. Anyway, back to Blade and
back to Wesley Snipes.
Ryan Reynolds. No, Wesley Snipes did a great job with this. For those that don't know, Blade, the mythology of Blade is that his mother was bitten by a vampire when she was pregnant, and so he was born half vampire, half human. So they call him the Daywalker. He has the powers of the vampire, but none of like the weaknesses. So he can go around in the daytime. He's silver doesn't hurt him as much. I don't think, but he also is a vampire hunter. So it's like that kind of double-edged sword to his identity, where he is a partial vampire, but he hunts vampires. And and Wesley Snipes with his karate and his cool moves and his attitude.
He's also a master of kung fu vampire hunter.
Exactly. These series were great. I like these series. There's kind of two, I think, main mythologies of vampires. There's a more like romantic kind of mythological, and then this is a more kind of hardcore scientific vampire like vein. And then the Blade trilogy, they kind of settle more into like the scientific vein. Like they talk about like he uses a synthetic mixture that's not exactly blood, but it helps keep him alive. He has to keep taking it, otherwise he'll die, or he'll have to like drink human blood. So they talk about that.
He doesn't like it. Is it in the? Would you say it's like morally corrupt for him, because since he is half human, he like just doesn't want to go down. He doesn't want to become like, or lose all his morality, which is like his human side, to become like a vampire. Because the vampires in this universe are like straight up thugs that only murder innocent people on the street. Yeah,
they don't care. They're gangs. It's like an underground thing. Like this whole underground network all around the world. They kind of live in the shadows.
Yeah.
And I
don't even know how like they weren't discovered, especially if this is the Marvel universe with like the Avengers like running around. You think like the vampires wouldn't be an issue?
Well, I mean, they're making it. Technically, his stuff wasn't like the Marvel universe wasn't a thing back when these movies were made. Yeah. They're gonna make a new one, I think, with Mahershala Ali and Kit Harington, and
Kit Harington's in it too.
Yeah, and I don't know how it's gonna be, man. Wesley Snipes is
I'm
Blade,
very
as far as I'm concerned, and Marvel, like Disney Marvel. Like in the Blade, it was like hardcore. Dudes were getting their heads chopped off. It was like real brutal. Things getting ripped out from other things, blood everywhere. Sexual.
I don't know how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Just because that was the good thing about Blade, was that it was so brutal.
Yeah, it was hardcore.
And like it was there was blood, gore, sex, drugs, everything in that series. I don't know how they're gonna stream this on Disney Plus. When it gets fully released, but I'm skeptical, just because how there's some actors that, like, to me at least, their entire identity is like a character they played. For example, like Daniel Radcliffe will forever be Harry Potter.
No matter what he does, no matter how far he runs from it. Yeah.
Yeah, no matter how many Oscars he wins for other movies he does, he will always be Harry Potter, and people will see him on the street and be like, Harry! So like they can't remake Harry Potter and then cast a new Harry. Like, people would literally burn the earth to the ground.
You just wait, so Cam. 30 years from now, we're going to see it. I'm telling you, we're going to be old men, and we're going to be like, oh my God, they're doing it.
Oh my God, they're trying to do the thing. But to me, Wesley Snipes is Blade. Yeah. That's like, anytime I see Wesley Snipes and they're like, oh, who's that actor? The first thing I always think about is, oh yeah, he's Blade, I'm interested to see how they're gonna pull this one off, because
we'll see, man.
they got their work ahead of you. But yeah, no, Blade 2, like you said, is your favorite. Blade 2 is my favorite as well. Just because I like movies where they bring in like teams of people.
Yeah.
Because you just have numerous, like they build this like, it's kind of like a heist movie where they're constructing the team and they all have their specialties and it's like, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah.
I really like those formats one. And like Blade always has his own dedicated team. What's the old actor? It's not
Chris
that plays like the old
Christopherson
guy
is
with
the
limp.
actor. I forget his name it's like one cool name, like he's got a singular name, but he's like his mentor, the guy who trained him and makes his weapons, that kind of stuff. He's kind of, it's so funny, man. Trilogies are an interesting thing, man, because when you get different people to head up each one of the trilogy, you can kind of like, you can go off step. As we've seen with new Star Wars, like it can go off the rails. Like if you don't get a coordinated effort throughout all three movies. So like Chris Christopherson, in the first one he's his mentor, all kind of stuff, and then he dies. It's like this sad thing. And then in Blade 2, it's like, well, he didn't quite die. He started to turn, but then like the vampires took his body, and so Blade's after him, and he kind of gets him back a little bit. But then there's some tension between him and his other gadget guy who ends up betraying him in Blade 2. And then it's like, all right, we're back, and the team's back. And then Blade Trinity, like, I don't know what was going on in the writing room, but he's like, we don't need Chris Christopherson, or maybe he didn't want to do it. So they had to, like, kill him off, like, right away, and then like, that's it.
And they're like, isn't it his daughter? It's like his daughter that's like a vampire hunter, too. And that's who, like, is teamed up with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. What's her name? I forget. I forget her name.
Oh yeah, what is her name? I don't remember.
She's married to freaking guy with the voice who sings a lot.
The guy with the face?
Man in the Woods. Yeah. Jeez. So now my brain is. If we weren't recording an episode right now, I could think of it on the fly. But now the pressure's on, I can't think of it.
The pressure's on.
Yeah.
It's game
Smashing
over.
the globe.
But yeah.
Anyway, I got my sexy back. Who's that? Yeah.
Justin
Timberlake. Yes, there you go. She's married to
she's married to Justin Timberlake? Oh, I had no idea. Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, the Blade trilogy is, in my opinion, the pinnacle of vampire movies.
Pinnacle of vampire movies. There's a lot of good ones out there, man.
There is a good one. But like, if I'm like, I want to watch a vampire movie, I'm probably going to put Blade 2 on. And just because Ron Perlman's in it, I'm a big Hellboy fan. Yeah, it's just the character design in that. Everybody's got their own type of thing. It's like all the vampires, even though... and the other thing about Blade 2 is like they're facing a new type of vampire.
Right, so like a more evolved form.
Yeah, so like you have your basic, base bitch vampire that are like all warriors and they're like kind of like they all wear armor and stuff, and then they're going against this kind of like hobo bum vampire that even live in more shadows because they're like their mouths open up and they like it's weird like squiggly Cthulhu things.
Yeah, and they have like a little sucker thing that comes out, which Guillermo del Toro directed the second Blade, and then he went on to do the Strain book series, which became a television series, and they have the same kind of thing where their mouths opened up and they have a little sucker thing, a stinger thing that comes out, Yeah,
definitely took that idea with him on the Strain for sure. But yeah, no, Blade trilogy is totally worth mentioning. What do you got? What do you got for this next one? Is it?
Let me talk about Blood Rain from 2005. Now, this is a movie.
I've never heard of that.
This is a movie it was actually based on a video game. I never played the series of video games, but it is one of the worst movies ever made because it's directed by one of the worst directors of all time, Uwe Boll, or Uwe Boll. He's a German director who was famous for only adapting video games into movies because, like, he's a big video game fan. And Uwe Boll is like, you watch interviews with this guy, and he's just like a dude. He's just like a fun guy. You think you might like be able to like hang out at a barbecue with him. He's like a fun-loving guy. He seems like he'd probably be fun to be on set with. His movies are awful. They are atrocious. And he even did this thing where he had the push-up or shut-up competition where he invited critics of his movies to come and literally fight him in a boxing match. Yeah. Because his movies are bad, and everyone would say on the internet, everyone all around was like, this guy's movies are horrible. And he's like, oh yeah? Fight me. I said, oh yeah, you want to fight me? Maybe you should fight me now.
You want to fight me? Okay, meet me here.
Meet me in
This
this
is where I
boxing
live.
ring. And he totally just, I saw one of them. And all these dudes are like keyboard warriors. And like one of them agreed to do it. And he's like all schlubby. And then Uwe Boll's been like training for this. So he just totally just mantles him.
He's like training for this moment to kick the crap out of all the critics that have been, talking shit to him.
Yep. And just in case somebody's wondering, I'm not going to fight him. But then he was like, this guy's my friend now because he actually put his money where his mouth is. And now we are friends.
I would go to a barbecue with this guy. He sounds like a riot. Wouldn't want to be in a movie, any of his movies, but I'd hang out with him.
Well, that's the thing, man. In the series of movies that he has done, he actually gets. I don't know if he's done a movie in a while, but he's gotten he gets a lot of actors, like famous actors, to be in his movie for like they're in it for like a couple scenes, so he can it's either star power, maybe they're doing it for a paycheck, so he can say like all these people are in my movie. Like in Blood Rain, it's got Ben Kingsley, he's the bad guy, Billy Zane, Michelle Rodriguez, Michael Madsen, and Kristana Loken, who was the Terminator from Terminator: Rise of the Machines. She's the star. And it's basically, as far as I remember, because I've blocked it out because of trauma, she's like I think her mom gets bitten by a vampire, and so she grows up a vampire, or like she's a little girl who's a vampire who doesn't really understand her own abilities and stuff. And I can't remember anything about, like, there's a band of bandits led by Michael Madsen, and Michael Madsen turns in. It's got to be one of the most disinterested performances of all time. Like everybody in the movie acts like they're just there for a paycheck. Like you got to watch, if you can find it. In fact, I think I put a link there in our little description. But his death scene, Michael Madsen's death scene, is the most, like, you watch him, Ben Kingsley comes up and Michael Madsen's being held by the enemy dudes, and then Ben Kingsley comes up and stabs him, and it's just, there's no reaction. He's like getting stabbed and he's dying, and it's just like blank. It's awesome. It's so good. The movie's horrible.
I like how you put it as, it's on YouTube too. Okay, I'll have to watch this.
Yeah.
And waste more time.
Waste more of your time.
I like how you put, I don't care about anything that's happening right now, death scene.
Yeah, it's the most
hyperlink.
Yeah, the most, I don't care about anything that's happening right now, death scene in movie history. Yeah, and it's awesome. It's amazing. It's amazing. Even like Kristana Loken, who's the star, is the only one that looks like she's trying at all. Because she's trying to establish herself. I think it's probably right after Rise of the Machines.
Check out great deals throughout the store at Safeway. This week at Safeway, get mega packs of USDA Choice boneless beef chuck roast for $3.97 per pound with digital coupon limit 2 packages. Plus, Hass avocados are 10 for $10 member price. And get Fuji apples for just 77 cents per pound with digital coupon. Also this week at Safeway, get selected varieties of Lucerne milk gallons for the member price of $3.99 each when you buy 2. Visit Safeway.com or head into your local store for more deals.
And so she's the star of the show, but there were actually 3 of these movies that starred other women starred in the starring role after this. But I think one of them actually has to do with the Third Reich, because in the video game she lives kind of throughout time because she's immortal, and then she eventually fights the Nazis, like you do.
Like you, of course.
If you're a vampire, you either are a Nazi or you have to fight the Nazis. That's what happens when you're a vampire.
There's no getting around.
There's no getting around it. No. Because there's 2 things that are eternal. It's it's vampires and the evil of Nazis.
Yeah.
So that's don't do public service announcement, folks. Don't watch Blood Rain. You'll never get that 2 hours of your life back. Or
looks like I am going to waste 2 more hours of my life, and then I can stamp it.
Yep.
But let's talk about a good one.
Okay.
Huh?
Okay.
You want to talk about a good one?
Let's talk about some good ones.
Let's talk about I Am Legend.
Whoa. Good one.
I love I Am Legend.
Oh my gosh.
You don't like the movie I Am Legend?
Well, I don't like this movie because I love the short story upon which it is based. Richard Matheson. It's based on a short story. It's about 200 pages long by Richard Matheson, I Am Legend. But let's talk about it, man. Let's mix it up. You love this movie? Go ahead.
I love this movie because I haven't read the short story. So
You probably would hate it.
I feel like that's the ultimate curse is, if there is this, a movie that is adapted from a book,
Right.
and if you've read the book, you have so much expectations. And it's the same thing with like, any book with Lord of the Rings. There is so much that you just miss.
Yep.
And there's like so many details about character development and all that stuff that typically don't make it into the movie because, if you actually made a proper movie about, a lengthy book, you're looking at 4 or 5 hours.
It'd be like a mini
and
series at least.
Yeah, you need an entire series for that. So that's where Game of Thrones, went in until it didn't, because the book ended.
Right. They had to keep going.
But I liked it just because I liked the post-apocalyptic thing.
Gotcha.
I like Will Smith's character, Robert Neville.
Yeah.
I like his relationship with his dog.
Yeah.
Because obviously his family dies. That was, we've talked about I Am Legend in the dog.
The tearjerker episode. Yeah.
The tearjerker episode. Yeah, man. When he puts his dog down, because, like, he cares about that dog more than anything in life. Like, his daughter died, his family died. It's all he has left. Yep. And, like, the dog eats better than he does. Like, you see him in the beginning of the movie, like, making that extravagant meal, and then he gives it to the dog, and he just eats, like, a microwavable meal afterwards. Yep. So you're like, that was crazy. Plus, they're not traditional vampires, right? They're more of the scientific, like in the beginning we talked about the romantic one, the scientific. These vampires are literally just the bane of human existence.
It's like a virus in the movie or something like that?
Yeah, it's like a virus that they pretty much turn into vampires. It's not confirmed that they are vampires, in the movie at least.
Right. They never say the word, right?
Yeah. But they come out at nighttime, they feed on people, like it's a given, So it's open to adaptation. But Robert Neville, Will Smith's character, is trying to find the cure because he was a military, he was a military officer, and he is one of the few in New York City that's left,
Is he the only guy that's left? Presumably in the beginning of the movie, you think he's the only guy that's left.
Yeah, presumably until he finds that lady, or that lady finds him. Yeah, and rescues him. But the exciting thing for me is that, they had the ending where he, like, blows up the entire thing and he ends up dying, but then there's an alternate ending that was made where Will Smith actually survives, and there is another I Am Legend pretty much that I've heard that's in production now that's going off that alternate ending.
Yeah. That's really interesting, man, that the alternate ending, which presumably most people don't know about because they saw the movie and then they moved on with their lives, but they're like, did you guys know that we did an alternate ending? And that's going to be canon now. And we're making a movie sequel based off of that ending, which most of you don't know about. So it'll be interesting to see how they explain that. Like, Will Smith's back. It's like, I thought he died.
Will Smith's back, baby. I thought he died, yeah. No. You got to watch the alternate ending.
Did you know that this is not the first adaptation of the novel that has been made?
I did not. What else is there?
There's been a couple. There's an older one with Vincent Price, the old horror movie actor, iconic guy, called is it I Am Legend or is it The Last Man on Earth? But it's the same kind of premise. I haven't seen it, but I know it's the same kind of premise. And then there's another one with Charlton Heston called Omega Man, which is another adaptation, and that one gets credit in my book because in the short story, the thing that I love most about the short story is that, and spoilers, folks, for if you haven't read the book, or the movie is great. I Am Legend with Will Smith is great because it starts off and he's alone, and then you find out there that the vampires are around and stuff, and he's trying to find a cure, and then the woman shows up, right? And I thought, oh, they're going to do like they did in the book. Because in the book, what you come to find out is that he notices, because he starts studying the vampires, and this is where the science stuff starts coming in. He wants to know why sunlight, why garlic, why the Christian, symbolism, why are they afraid? So he starts actually studying them. Most of the time during the daytime, they're dormant. So he'll go around and just randomly kill them. But then he wants to start understanding why they behave the way they do, because he noticed that there are two kinds. There's the feral kinds, and then there's more the ones that they seem to be organized, and he wants to.
They have a hierarchy.
Yeah, there's almost like a civilization kind of forming. So he starts studying that, and he gets all this kind of research going. But all the time he's alone, he's isolated, he's an alcoholic, he's depressed, and then
he's talking to mannequins.
Yeah, he
What's that mannequin's name? Is it Fred?
Oh,
what are you doing out here, Fred?
Oh, that's right, because they move it and then they fool him with it.
Yeah, they move it.
But in the book, he meets a young lady, and he thinks, "Oh my gosh, I found somebody," and stuff like that. And they kind of have a bit of a romance. And then she runs off. He finds out that she's actually a part of a new vampire civilization that has grown up out of the ashes of human civilization. And he realizes that she's like, "I was sent to find you because you have become basically our boogeyman." That's where I Am Legend comes from, where she's like, "You don't realize that in our society, you're the vampire, you're Frankenstein, you're the scary story that we tell our kids at night to keep them in, because if you don't stay in, Robert Neville's going to get you." And so it's this whole like reversal of him becoming this legend. It's like a whole reversal of like in this new society, and it's really the ending is really touching and heartwarming. I guess I won't say any more if you want to read it, but it's really good. And it's not very long. It's only like 200 pages long. If anybody out there wants.
Okay, yeah, dude, I will.
Oh,
I will.
It's cool.
Listen to that because I don't read.
And that's and in the movie. So let me just sum it up with this. In the movie, I thought they were going to do that. I thought they were going to have her have her be like a vampire, and like there's this society, and they just have her. She's just a human looking for looking for answers and wandering around. So I was like, I was real disappointed that they didn't do that.
Okay. Well, maybe that colony that she goes to afterwards.
Maybe it's a vampire colony.
The survivor vampire colony. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, that's had to be on the list. We're running short on time, but I do want to mention just one or two more that were personal to me. Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman, and obviously, what's her name? Kate Beckinsale, who is also part of the Underworld franchise, and I wanted to talk about that, but I didn't realize this episode would go, this long.
Well, Vampires Part 2.
But yeah, Van Helsing was actually one of my favorite movies growing up. It's Kate Beckinsale gave me my first erection.
I can understand that. The way that she was great in that movie,
she looks good.
That was when she was riding high, man. She was the queen of the hour, yeah.
Yeah. And then I like that was a Universal film, so I grew up here in California where you can go to Universal Studios, and they used to have the Van Helsing attraction. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember the Van Helsing attraction. Yeah, it was like a haunted house.
Yeah, it was like the walkthrough.
Yeah, the walkthrough.
Yeah, it was like the walkthrough maze. That was one of the attractions. Then it became Chicken Run. Is it still Chicken Run?
No, I think it's The Walking Dead now.
Now it's The Walking Dead. Okay, all year round or
all year round? Yeah, I think they made it a permanent.
Oh wow, that's super cool. Yeah. Okay, yeah, but I was pissed when it moved because I was like, Van Helsing.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of cool things about that movie, just because the technology he uses, like the automatic crossbow that he has,
right? The wind up throwing blade or whatever, Yeah,
he has got these like wind up spinning discs that he uses, and he's like a monster. Van Helsing, he's the famed monster hunter. So like it opens up, and he's fighting Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and he's like fighting Mr. Hyde, and he's like this ginormous, just disgusting, gluttonous, huge, jacked like monster.
Yeah.
So I think the monster design in the movie is super awesome. And then obviously Kate Beckinsale, and then the Transylvania accent, and then I just think it's a really entertaining movie, and like all the monsters are included. So you have like the lycans, the werewolf, with which Van Helsing becomes a werewolf.
Yeah.
And that's how he actually. I'm not gonna because that's gonna ruin the game. But yeah, you have Frankenstein's monster, you have Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and then you just have all these different characters smashed into one movie, which and they all look great. Like the vampires, they're beautiful in their human form, but when they transform into their vampire form, they're like ugly, disgusting. They look like they look like monsters.
Yeah, I always like that aspect of any kind of if they're like vampire stuff. Whether it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Van Helsing, whatever, whenever there's somebody that's handsome or beautiful, and then they turn into a vampire, they get ugly and grotesque. I think that's a cool, like, symbolism of, like, kind of like how, like our darkness, our dark side turns us ugly. And I think I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But I did not, because
we're running on.
I did not like Van Helsing. I'm just going to put that on record.
You did not? Why did you not like Van Helsing? It was
hot garbage.
The acting's not good.
The acting's atrocious, and, Richard Roxburgh as Dracula is laughably bad. Like his acting.
Yeah,
is
his accent is
so
really bad.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm
gonna rewatch it just because as a kid.
yeah. Oh,
You're not like, I'm not sitting there like, oh, hoity-toity, and I'm just like,
all critical.
his accent's really bad. I'm just like, whoa, look at Kate Beckinsale's butt in that, leather, and then I'm just like, wow, look at the lichen.
Yep, exactly.
Shit.
No, I get it.
But yeah, I thought it was entertaining growing up.
Honorable mentions before we go to our shout-outs, question and game. Lost Boys from 1987, classic 1980s movie.
Classic.
Also Fright Night from the 80s, great. From the 80s, the Fright Night from the 80s, not the remake, the crappy remake that came out in 2011 with Colin Farrell. But and then if you haven't seen it, folks, I've been out of the anime game for a long time. But if there's one I could recommend from the year 2000, it's called Blood: The Last Vampire. I know they did a modern day live action adaptation of it, but it's 50 minutes long. If you can find it anywhere, it's really good. The animation is out of this world. It holds up today, and the action is bar none. It's really, really, really good. Blood: The Last Vampire. So those are my honorable mentions.
Okay, for me, my honorable mention is classic Robert Rodriguez, 1996, From Dusk Till Dawn. That's I like Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino's relationship because they both have very similar styles, and the fact that Quentin Tarantino is an actor in this movie, and it has a killer cast too. Like everybody's in this movie too. That one's just out of control. Like the way they kill the vampires, and then Selma Hayek also helped me find myself.
She did, man.
That was like
that
probably
dance.
her. I think that movie was Selma Hayek's prime.
Yeah. Yep.
That like put her on the map.
Also showcases how short she is. She's a little girl.
Is she? I'm gonna look up her height. But actually, Selma Hayek lives in Washington State, just outside of Fort Lewis. You know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's she's also, there was like rumors going around. I don't know if they're confirmed, but she's like a part of this weird cult thing, like religion.
Oh, Salma Hayek, little culty
and
cult.
she lives in Lakewood.
Oh no, Lakewood! That's right next to Fort Lewis. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, literally. You think I just said that? Like she lives in Seattle?
Sorry.
No, she literally.
Whenever you're
lives
talking, I just
Lakewood.
tune you out. I'm just waiting for my turn to talk.
That makes sense. Yeah, she lives in Lakewood, and for those of you that aren't good with, Fort Lewis geography, it's literally this city. It's like you have Fort Lewis, like military bases are like towns in themselves, but then the second you exit the gate, you're in a city, and Lakewood is the city that you exit Fort Lewis. And yeah, she lives in like this giant compound in Lakewood, which is a little ghetto, if you ask me.
Yep, it is. I
no,
can
it's very
attest. I
ghetto.
lived
That
in
place is
Lakewood.
run down.
I lived just off base, about a mile away from base in Lakewood in a little apartment complex. But yeah.
It's not a safe place. But yeah, she lives in this giant like compound that's like has armed security everywhere and a bunch of security cams. And the rumor is that she's like part of this weird religion of Washingtonians that is like super culty.
I wish that they would be
fun fact
called
for
the
that.
Washingtonians, because then they might be confused with the other Washingtonians who are just really big fans of George Washington.
Yeah. Isn't that what you call people from Washington? Washingtonians?
Yeah, I suppose you could. I've never heard that before, but
I thought that's like the official title. You have Californians,
Californians,
and then you have
Washingtonians.
Texans, but people from Washington are Washingtonians.
Idahoans, Michiganders. Yeah.
Idahoans, Utahoans.
Idahoans. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But that is, we might have to do a part 2. Like I said in the beginning, there is so much, vampire shit out there. We didn't even scratch. Did we scratch video games?
No, not even a little bit. Legacy of Kain, Blood Rain the game. There's tons of vampire stuff.
Yeah, but just for time's sake, we have to move on, unfortunately. But before we move on to our game, we obviously have our Patreon shout out, and we want to welcome to the Patreon community Casey Martinson. Thank you for being a part of our Patreon. We are super excited to have you. Enjoy the discounts, enjoy the exclusive content, enjoy everything about it. We are stoked to have you.
Welcome, Casey. Yeah. And quick question from our fans. Somebody out there in the internet wanted to know, Cam and Izzy, are you Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Yeah, I chose to keep this person anonymous just because I didn't want them to get beat up on the street if their name went out. Are you Team Edward or Team Jacob?
If I gun to my head, if I have to make a choice, because I don't want to. I would say I would have to see Team Edward only because Robert Pattinson has distinguished himself as an actor since this series. Like, it's almost like he did this, he's like, I got to do this to get famous, get some money, and then I can chill and relax and do art house films from now on, and then wait for the time when I can become Batman, which I thought he did a great job in. Robert Pattinson is a phenomenal actor.
He is good.
The Twilight series is cringe to me. So but you know what?
It's little girl wet dream.
Little girl wet dream movie. Yeah, but you got to watch him with the riff tracks. There's a thing called riff tracks where the guys make fun of the movie as it plays. You just kind of buy it. Really? The dudes that used to do Mystery Science Theater 3000, where that was basically they just do commentary, and it's so hilarious. Them making fun of this movie. Really? It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take the latter and say Team Jacob for me. Only because it has nothing to do with the caliber of the actors that are playing it. It's just I feel like since I'm hairy too and I'm kind of brown, that I would fit in.
You'd be a good Lycan.
Yeah, I'd be a good werewolf.
I'd make a good sparkly vampire.
Yeah, sparkly vampire. Yeah, don't go in the sunlight because it won't kill you, but you'll just shine.
It'll make you more beautiful. Yeah,
it'll make you more.
I'm
beautiful.
Hideous.
Yeah,
you're beautiful.
I'm hideous. I'm sparkly.
Edward.
Don't look at me. Edward, what's your moisturizer? I don't think anybody would be like, oh my God, you're a vampire because you're sparkling. They'd be like, in today's thing, they'd be like, oh, you part of the LGBTQ community?
Yeah, they'd be like, you just do that on purpose because that's your thing. That's how you identify.
They're probably walking amongst us right now in West Hollywood. We have no idea.
See them all the time.
Yeah. But okay, let's transition to our game now that our teams have been decided. I'm the game master for this one. Right. It's a little bit of a quick game just because this was a little challenging to make, but I call this one Weapons of Choice. Okay. And this is for you, Izzy.
All right.
For this short game, I'll give you a famous vampire character in a movie, and you have to tell me how they are killed, whether it's with a wooden stake through the heart, holy water, or maybe both.
Okay.
This game will sink its teeth into you, pun totally intended. I'll give you one. The kicker is I'll give you one hint throughout the game of which actor plays the character, just in case you don't know.
Okay, cool.
I felt very caring, and when I made this game,
appreciate you looking.
You
out
have
for
to choose to use it wisely, or not use it at all because I might.
So it's like almost like I get to pull that card out one time.
Yeah, it's like call a friend.
Okay,
kind of.
Cool.
It's like that you get one chance if you're like I don't know who that character is. Can you tell me who plays it?
Okay,
I will.
All right, cool.
Okay, all right. Here we go. There's 3 rounds plus a warm up. Are you ready, my friend?
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Okay, so for the warm up, this character is Dieter Reinhardt from Blade 2.
Dieter Reinhardt from Blade 2. How he dies, right?
How he dies.
Okay, so I'm thinking of the team that Blade teams up with. And I think Reinhardt, if I remember, he's the big dude with the giant hammer with the spike in it. So he actually gets hurt. He actually gets infected by one of the little vampire guys. And he kind of covers it up. So then he turns on his buddies, the Asian dude with the sword, who actually I think was the stunt coordinator and the fight coordinator for the movie. As a whole side thing. But then he attacks his lady friend. She gets scared and she goes up and she decides that they should die together. She uncovers the manhole and they both die with sunlight. So it's sunlight is how he dies.
You are incorrect. I'm sorry.
Oh, Reinhardt?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Reinhardt. Oh, I thought that originally too, but Reinhardt is actually Ron Perlman's character.
Oh, Ron Perlman's character. Merry goodbye, Ron Perlman.
Yes. Yeah, and he is sliced vertically in half.
That's right.
By Blade.
He is. Yep.
Yeah, after he falls into the vat of blood at the vampire headquarters, and then the fucking music starts playing, you're like, oh shit, it's about to go.
Yeah.
And he gets out and he gets his sword back, and because Reinhardt has his sword, remember? And he's like, nice sword.
Yeah.
And he gets it back and then slices him in half, and then he turns to ash.
Hey, nice. Okay, that's good. That's good. He got what he deserved. I like how I went on that whole long explanation just to be totally wrong.
Yeah. I mean, that dude totally looks like a Reinhardt, too, because he's got the big hammer and the leather chest thing.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what his name was in the movie, but I can't remember.
That's okay. All right, let's go to round 1. Let's think. Since we talked about this one, I think you should get it. Okay. Since you're such a fan of this movie. But we will see. All right, round 1. Dracula from Bram Stoker's Dracula. How does he die?
They're in a fight at the end. They're all getting after him, and he gets stabbed by the big Bowie knife, but that doesn't kill him. So he crawls inside, and then Winona Ryder, in an act of love, drives drives the big Bowie knife through his heart and then cuts off his head. So beheading, I guess, would be the official answer.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
I have sword through the heart, then decapitation.
There you go.
So perfect.
Yeah.
You got that one.
Yeah, very
All
touching.
right. Thank God the one. Very touching.
yeah.
I have to watch that.
Yeah, you gotta watch it.
But okay, great. You got that one. And since we don't count warm-ups, you're 1 for 1
All right.
right now. Okay, so moving on, we got another one, another Dracula. But this Dracula is from Van Helsing. How does this Dracula die?
Oh my gosh, I can't remember. Oh my goodness. Oh,
You know,
no.
they're like in the big scene. It's like the big climactic scene
Does
where
he
they're
turn into
they
a
go to
werewolf to
Dracula's
fight
castle.
him? And oh man. Oh no, I remember so much. I remember how the little henchman dies. He falls off. And it's a really crappy death. Like the composition, like the special effect is really crappy. Anyway, golly, man, I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember how he dies. I remember so many different things about that I didn't like about that movie. I must not have disliked his death enough to remember it. I'm just going to say sunlight. So that's just random. Sunlight.
Okay. Well, your random is incorrect. When Hugh Jackman as Van Helsing turns into the werewolf to fight Dracula, he pretty much bites him in the neck and completely kills Dracula.
Oh, he just rips his throat out. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
pretty much.
Cool.
Yep, that's how he dies.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
Nice.
1 for 2. You're about 50%, but that's okay. You could make it up and give yourself a solid C on this last one.
Okay.
But I did say famous characters. I think they're famous, but they might be completely different in your book. So are you ready for the final round?
Final round. Let's go.
Okay. Round 3, Razor Charlie from Dusk Till Dawn.
Razor Charlie. Razor Charlie.
Remember, you have your hint, and I can tell you who plays it.
Yeah. Is it Richard Roundtree that plays the sax?
No, that's not how the
Okay.
hint works.
What
You
can
asked
I
who
get the
plays
hint? I would like to poll the audience. I would like a lifeline, please. Tell me.
it. You're phoning a friend. You're phoning me.
Can't.
You've reached the voice message. Of
Oh
Cameron
man,
Stone.
no,
Can't
when
get
I
to the
need
phone
him.
right now.
Jeez.
Razor Charlie is played by Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo. Oh, okay, Danny Trejo. He's a vampire. So he.
Yes, he is.
Man, I think he just gets a stake through the heart. I think. I'm not sure if Sex Machine kills him with his crotch gun, which is awesome. It's the best weapon ever.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And I love Sex Machine. I like how his name is just Sex Machine.
Yeah.
That guy is actually
Just Sex
he's the
Machine.
special effects dude. He's from K&B Effects.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tom Savini plays Sex
Tom
Machine.
Savini. Yeah. Tom Savini is a big special effects dude.
I had no idea.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. But anyway, I think I'm just going to say Stake Through the Heart because I just can't remember. I love that movie, but yeah.
I'm going to give it to you, man.
Okay.
It wasn't, I mean, technically it was a stake through the heart, but it was a pool stick.
Oh, pool
Through
stick.
the heart.
Broken off.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
okay.
Sex Machine is the one that kills
Oh, he is the one who
with
killed
pool
him, but
stick.
just not with the crotch gun. Okay.
Not with the crotch gun. Yeah.
I like
So I'll give it to
All
you,
right,
man.
thanks,
Just
man.
'cause stake
Okay.
through the heart. I mean, technically it is a stake through the heart. Otherwise he wouldn't die if it was anything else.
That's right.
But good, man. So you got 2 for 3, solid C,
All right.
ending it strong.
Thank
Way to
you.
go, Izzy.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I knew I could do it. I thank you for the lifeline. Thank you for leaving me in my time of need, Cameron.
Anytime. But next time I might not be so caring. So you watch out, mister.
All right.
Well, folks, that'll conclude this episode of the PCFM podcast. We hope you enjoyed taking this journey with us, learning a little bit about the history of vampires, as well as some great and not so great, complete waste of time films featuring these iconic characters. We hope you had a good time driving in your cars. Till next time, folks, Izzy.
Cue music. What's going on, everybody? You just listened to the free version of the PCFM podcast. If you want full-length versions of podcast episodes, plus much, much more, head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/PCFM podcast.
That is right, Israel. If you want access to this full episode, you have to subscribe to the Fuzzy Private tier, which is our cheapest tier on Patreon at $5 a month. But if you are interested in a little bit more, we also have the Salty Sergeant tier at $8 a month and the Lifer tier at $12 a month. So hopefully we will see you there, PCFM family. Cue music.
Check out great deals throughout the store at Safeway. This week at Safeway, get mega packs of USDA Choice boneless beef chuck roast for $3.97 per pound with digital coupon, limit 2 packages. Plus, Hass avocados are 10 for $10 member price. And get Fuji apples for just 77 cents per pound with digital coupon. Also this week at Safeway, get selected varieties of Lucerne milk gallons for the member price of $3.99 each when you buy 2. Visit Safeway.com or head into your local store for more deals.